It's time for really quick equity and excellence in teaching tips. I am your host, Michelle Singh, an educator, professor, author, student, and mother. I'm happy to share this topic from the Equal methodology, which is a framework for diversity, equity, and inclusion in education. So let's get right into our conversation. Are you ready to witness your students truly grasp your learning content and your material? Picture the excitement on their faces as they connect the learning to their own lives and their own experiences. It truly is a game changer. And I know this firsthand because I've implemented the culturally responsive teaching practices in my classroom to see it. So let me take you back to the epic project. This is something that I did with my students after reading the epic poem, the Odyssey by Homer, and just the way that the students were able to showcase their newfound knowledge of the book's epithets and themes and literary devices and poetic elements was nothing short of amazing. They created websites that breathe life into the story and talk show interviews, both live and recorded, that brought the characters to life, and musicals, and even live musicals in class. And they developed soundtracks that transported us into the setting and the emotional journeys of the characters. And they did readers' theater performances that made us feel like we were part of the Odyssey ourselves. And they had creative writing pieces and artwork that just reimagined the story and their learning. In fact, I have a piece of artwork here in my office that I'm staring at right now from one of the projects that my students did. And to me, it showed how much they were able to grasp the concepts and the skills that I taught them because they were able to make it relevant to their own lives. And this success, the key to this particular success was giving them the opportunity to do so, giving them options, giving them voice, and giving them choice, all because I was implementing culturally responsive teaching practices. Students were not just passive recipients of information. They became active participants in their learning process. They took ownership of the knowledge and the skills that I imparted on them, and they infused that with their own unique perspectives and their personal experiences. And that is the incredible power of culturally responsive teaching. It nurtures that deep connection between the students' lives and the subject matter. It really empowers students to explore and express themselves in ways that truly resonate with their identities and their backgrounds. And when students are given the opportunity to draw upon their skills and their strengths and their experiences and cultural backgrounds, magic happens. They absorb the information effectively, and they develop a deeper understanding, and they gain confidence in showcasing their knowledge. So let's explore 3 key strategies that embody culturally responsive teaching during the assessment process. Number 1 is students are applying their knowledge and skills to real life contexts. Number 2 is students are incorporating various technology tools and platforms. Number 3 is you're allowing students to teach and learn from each other. By embracing these strategies, you have the beautiful opportunity to unlock the full potential of your students. So let's talk about applying knowledge and skills to real life context. This is going to be topic number 1. So in a culturally responsive teaching environment, we want to be able to give our students the opportunity to apply what they're learning in real life cultural context. This is going to make the learning experiences more authentic and more meaningful. We're framing the learning tasks in contexts that are relevant to their lives, and we're allowing them to see and value what they're learning. It's connecting their learning to their own experiences and their interests and their cultural backgrounds. And you can design your learning activities and your assignments and your assessments so that they resonate with your students' real life situations. This is going to allow them to make connections between their academic concepts and their personal lives. For example, if your students are studying history, you can incorporate case studies or primary sources that reflect their cultural heritage and experiences. And when you do this, you're helping them to deepen their understanding of the historical events, and you're allowing them to make the subject matter more relatable. They're connecting the historical events to what's happening with the case studies that relate to their what's going on in their communities and in their cultural backgrounds and so on. And so during the assessment process, you want to also encourage your students to critically evaluate the significance of the case studies or the primary sources in relation to the broader historical narrative. You're asking them to reflect on how the sources provide different perspectives, how they may challenge stereotypes, how they contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of history. And this kind of approach does foster a sense of connection, personalization, and engagement in your students. So when you incorporate those real life contexts into your teaching, like with case studies, using case studies and even primary sources, you enhance your students' overall learning experience. You're allowing deeper learning and understanding to take place. And you're allowing them to relate what they are doing in the classroom to their own lives and see the relevance to the world around them. So let's move on to our next topic, which relates to technology. So during the assessment process, culturally responsive teaching encourages students to embrace technology tools and platforms that align with their backgrounds, their cultural backgrounds. It allows them to showcase their learning in innovative and meaningful ways. So an example of this is that the students can use a digital storytelling app that highlights their strengths and their skills and their diversity to share their knowledge and experiences, right? So when they're using these technology tools, they can create these captivating multimedia presentations and videos and interactive projects that bring their culture and perspectives to the forefront. They can incorporate images, music, and videos that represent their cultural heritage. They can, take their learning to another level when they do this. And so by harnessing the power of technology, they gain confidence to express themselves creatively. They engage with the subject matter. They are using technology tools that highlight their strengths, and they are doing something that resonates with their cultural identities. So a closer look at how this can play out in the classroom. It could be a student who's been studying about different cultures or different countries in their classroom, right? And then for this assessment that the student is doing, let's say she decides to create a video presentation showcasing her heritage, her Mexican heritage, for example. So she curates images of significant landmarks and she captures maybe traditional dances, and she includes artwork from her home country, and she infuses that in her presentation, and she selects music that also represents her country and puts that in the presentation. And to even take it a step further, she decides that she's going to narrate in both English and in Spanish. So she's drawing, she is honoring her culture, but she also decides that she's going to draw comparisons between the various aspects of her own culture and the culture she studied in class for the assessment. And so when she's incorporating those technology tools that allows her to do all of that in a multimedia digital platform, it's really allowing her to tap into her cultural knowledge and her skills and her strengths and her backgrounds. And it's enriching the assessment process, and it makes it more engaging and more relevant and more reflective of her background, her perspective, and her experience. So Now that we've explored a little bit about the role of technology, we're going to move on to our final topic, which is peer learning, the power of peer learning. So, number 3, in the assessment process, culturally responsive teaching does open the door for students to teach and learn from each other. It's really an exciting opportunity where everyone can benefit. Teachers can encourage students to get creative and share their knowledge with their peers. They can do it through mini lessons and video tutorials, and even create educational games or apps, or use educational games or apps and interactive presentations, or just discussions. So imagine this scenario here. You're in your science class, and your students are diving into whatever topic it is, a fascinating topic. And as part of the assessment, you assign each student the task of preparing a mini lesson to teach their classmates about a specific part of the subject, a specific aspect of that topic that you're learning. So one student chooses to create a very creative and cool video tutorial explaining that scientific concept, while another student crafts an interactive video game to challenge their peers' understanding. And then another student does a multimedia presentation that showcases research and the findings and so on. And there's also another student who leads a discussion where the students are engaging and exchanging ideas and diving deeper in the topic. So you have just given the students about 4 different ways that they can show their learning, and do that in a peer-to-peer into a peer-to-peer way. So when you're bringing peer-to-peer learning into the assessment process, culturally responsive teaching does empower your students to take charge of their learning, and it's a chance for them to shine and hone their communication skills, their leadership skills, their critical thinking skill, their collaboration, all of the C's that you can think of, right? And it allows them to also gain a deeper understanding, a deeper grasp of the subject matter. Okay. And in addition, this particular collaborative approach, it does nurture and support that inclusive classroom environment where students can learn from each other, they can honor each other's unique perspective and experiences. So students become more active. They're active participants in the learning process, in the assessment process, and they develop these, important qualities like empathy and respect and appreciation for their classmates' knowledge and for their contributions. And culturally responsive teaching celebrates all of that, celebrates the idea of learning together, creating that dynamic classroom where students' voices are heard and valued and honored. All right, so we've explored the ways in which culturally responsive teaching empowers students during the assessment process by diving into 3 key strategies. Number 1 is applying knowledge and skills to real life contexts, like through case studies. Number 2 is incorporating various technology tools and platforms like multimedia, digital stories. Number 3 is allowing students to teach and learn from each other. We've discussed about 4 different options of peer learning. So thank you for listening and for your dedication and willingness to embark on this conversation and this journey toward equity and excellence in teaching. I'd like to leave you with one final thought before you go. Culturally responsive teaching allows students to showcase their knowledge and their skills in classrooms that celebrate diversity, that nurtures student voice, and that inspires meaningful connections between curriculum and the lives of the students in that classroom. So as you reflect on what we've discussed and what you've learned in this video, I encourage you to consider how you can provide even more opportunities for your students to showcase their understanding. How can you tap into their strengths and their knowledge and their experiences and cultural backgrounds? Imagine the excitement and the engagement that will come into your classroom when your students get to see and value the relevance of their learning.
The next move is on you. So let's put these ideas to work. Take time to implement and time to reflect. And don't forget to join the conversation. I invite you to share your thoughts and progress with our community online at LCT-E Learning. You may even use the hashtag #LearnWithLCTE. We look forward to engaging with you. Thank you for watching.